Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. For those who missed the show or didn't see the show before for the first time, this is an initiative where we try to invite personalities from all around the world who happen to be in Cambodia, those personalities who have a lot of experience in their own right, whether they are in scientific world, in the diplomatic world, in the business world. We hope that through this frank exchange with them, we could extract a few good ideas from their experience, from what they're doing, and hopefully the audience in the country, whether they're in the government, the private sector, civil society, or just students, they could get some of few ideas and hopefully they could apply in their life, in their community, and hopefully they could transform their society, the people around them, their environment. And tonight we'll be talking about Cambodia and its industrial development. And I have the great pleasure to welcome a very long colleague and friends of many years, Dr. Lalith Goonatilake. So, Lalith, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Siphana. I mean, it's always a pleasure for me to be in Cambodia. In fact, the first time I came here as a tourist.
When was that?
That was, I think, in 1997.
Wow,
yeah.
That was quite
so
a long
that
time.
Was in the transformation.
When you were young and still have
relatively
hair.
young. So, and also it's more the kind of the cultural affiliation of Sri Lanka.
Yes.
I come from Sri Lanka,
yes.
having a Buddhist culture, and mainly to see Cambodia, how the cultural linkage, and at that time, and I was amazed at, of course, your icon Angkor Wat.
Yes.
Plus, also to see that we have historical links here.
Yes.
The Wat Lanka is named under Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, yes. Yeah.
So we had a lot of exchanges in the past with Sri Lanka and Cambodia in Buddhism. And of course, the recent revival of Buddhism in the country. There have been a lot of exchanges between Cambodia and Sri Lanka, training monks and so on.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
Professionally, when was your first encounter with Cambodia?
Professionally was around 1999, I think, or 2000.
Yes.
And this was at the time Cambodia was emerging as a new nation.
Yes.
And we had kind of indications from your then ambassador in Geneva saying that Cambodia is now an emerging country. There are challenges of industrial development. There are challenges of trade. So that was the kind of my professional engagement initially.
And in fact, Lalith, that's when we knew each other. At that time, I was Vice Minister of Commerce, and we had the pleasure to have the first big program, for Cambodia on industrial development. We went fundraising together, we got the funding, and that's how Cambodia have come a long way. But Lalith, perhaps you could say a bit about yourself, UNIDO organization briefly, so that the audience know a bit, what's UNIDO role in this whole aid for trade context, industrial development,
Okay, UNIDO is the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. It's now 44 years old, and our core mandate is to help developing countries industrialize. Now, as you know, job creation is important, your economic gains are important, and those countries that have so far successfully done that are those that have industrialized.
Yes.
So from the UNIDO perspective, we have three areas of focus. One we call poverty reduction through productive activities. That's basically kind of setting the policy framework for industry development. Then promoting small and medium enterprises, the required investment and technology.
Yes.
And also doing all that in a sustainable manner, because today we need to do it more in a responsible manner, so we call it in a green industry type of situation. Then the second part of UNIDO is what our group deals with, is trade capacity building. And the third is energy and environment.
Yes.
We are one of the largest implementers of the Montreal Protocols.
Yes, indeed.
And also the Stockholm Protocol, making clean industry and also energy access to the world.
Lalith, our first encounter when I was with Commerce, we are right in the early phase of applying to join the WTO.
yeah.
And I must say in those days, most difficult challenge is to convince this member state that Cambodia need help a lot in terms of industrializing. And in those days, the notion of standard metrology is nowhere near. My understanding at that time, you have been able to work to help the government quite a bit on many law relating to that, right?
Yeah. I think let me step a little back and also say that it was a bold challenge that your government took in 2004, joining the WTO, and thanks to the efforts of your Prime Minister and also the Senior Minister of Commerce, Mr. Champrasid, and yourself. I saw you on CNN walking the streets of Cambodia.
Yeah.
The challenge that will bring to the country for the small person with carrying the wares on his shoulder.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you were worried about how Cambodia joining a major international agreement like the World Trade Organization. So that's how our partnership started. And the WTO membership comes with opportunities as well as certain challenges.
Yes.
Now, opportunities are all there. I mean, the whole world is open for you to trade with. But the challenges are mainly how you comply with standards. And also, standard is not only for the export side.
Yeah.
Your own market could become a dumping ground for substandard goods.
Yes, for substandard
goods.
product, yes.
So that's how our very first intervention, funded by the government of Austria and the government of Norway, was setting the key institutions here. The ISC, Industrial Standards of Cambodia, and also the related legal framework.
Exactly.
So the standards law,
the
initial concepts were provided by UNIDO in this area.
So all these laws are adopted, passed, ratified, being implemented as we speak. In terms of physical lab, that sort of thing, UNIDO has been forcefully helping, no?
Yeah. And I mean, a standard is a piece of paper which states a product has to be manufactured in such a way, should be safe in such a way. But what you require to demonstrate to the compliance of the standard is a laboratory.
Yes.
Let's say if you have this bottle of water here, is this safe to drink?
Yeah.
So you need to test this water.
Yes.
Say there are no harmful chemicals, there are no harmful bacteria.
Okay.
So for that, you require a laboratory. So we have been also engaged in Cambodia developing a number of laboratories. First of all, under Ministry of Mines and Energy, the MIME, the Industrial Laboratory Complex, ILCC, was actually government provided the building, we provided the know-how and the equipment. And actually I'm here this week to, in fact, celebrate the laboratory that has been now internationally accredited.
Internationally accredited. Wow.
Meaning
that's the ground
this
for celebration.
ILC laboratory has got accreditation from Australia.
Wow.
That if they issue a test result, that you see here, it is the National Testing Authority of Australia giving credibility that
the result is
credible. Now this is a major achievement for a least developed country. Cambodia comes within the 51 least developed country. In my engagement in all the least developed countries, this is the very first of achievement from a least developed country.
Wow.
And the other one that we have done, again celebrating this week, is the rubber laboratory at the Cambodia Rubber Research Institute. And that, again, that laboratory has also got international accreditation.
Lalith, you know, we, in this area of industrial development, it's such a complex, sophisticated that most of the laymen do not understand. But one thing is clear, that the government policy has been heavily pushing for export, you know, and now the drive is to, there are so many plantations of rubber, right? And, you know, the fact that now you have the issue with the shortage of the rubber, Japan, the tsunami, the nuclear crisis, it's provoked a lot of rethinking where the next source of raw material will be. In Cambodia, I met with the Minister of Agriculture. He said by 2020 we will have 300,000 hectares of rubber. And you know, at $5,000 a ton, that's a lot of potential. But to me, that is one side that I must say that thanks to the WTO, thanks to UNIDO, we've been able to have this accreditation, and this morning I was watching CNN, and you see the case of E. coli, this big viral outbreak, and that's why it's important that Cambodian lab are in position to do that. My understanding is that the lab that you help certify does that sort of thing.
In fact, it's good that, I mean, at the end of the day, your development objectives have to link to jobs.
Yes.
I mean, you have so much youth in the country, and jobs is the ultimate area for development. Rubber, the last 4 or 5 years, the world rubber prices have doubled.
Yes.
And the projections are this would even go up because of the high consumption of China and India. Now, rubber also is useful for the country because the labor required is high, but also it's only short term because you only work in the morning for 3 hours.
Exactly.
That allows you to do your farm in the evening.
In the afternoon.
Afternoon, So in that sense, what we have done with these type of laboratories is now Cambodia can export to more demanding markets. And as a result of accreditation, the International Rubber Council has recognized Cambodia's rubber and the grading system that you're going to use. So that will have a tremendous impact.
Much more value.
Much more value added and also much more employment generation at the end. So I think this is the way to go. And if I may just add the other sectors, your garment sector has done well. And also now you need to think about what is the next stage. Are you going to be just at the lower end of stitching? Should you go for higher value added?
Is there any role for UNIDO in that area?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we are currently active in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, which are much larger countries. In fact, the Sri Lanka, the garment sector, we have supported the training labs. And training facilities, and also their labs we have accredited for the garment sector.
For garments? What sort of lab is that?
This is, if you take a shirt, you need to, let's say, see the strength of the stitch.
The strength of the stitch.
The strength of the stitch.
Wow, that's metrology, no?
And then rubbing, for example, does it withstand rubbing?
Wow.
If you wash, does it shrink? Do we have harmful chemicals?
I don't think many people know that. I don't think so.
So all that spectrum of tests, there are about 200 tests that goes through. So at the moment, maybe some of the buyers of Cambodian garments, they may be testing it overseas.
I see.
There's a cost and time involved.
Yes.
So if you really want to expand the garment sector, some stage you need to have your own laboratory.
But this could be private sector, investment, right? Because it's a service rendered. But does it have to, well, I think for sure the government have to have a say in terms of regulatory norm, standard, that sort of thing.
There are a mix between, in this area, what is a public good and what is a private good.
Okay.
Now, standards is definitely a public good.
Yes.
Accreditation is a public good.
Yes.
Testing could be a mixed one.
Yes.
But an emerging economy, unless the demand is sufficient, no private sector would come and set up the lab. So the model could be a public-private
private sector.
Government provides some of the initial funding. The donors could come in also. Donors love engagement of the private sector. So we have models of this nature in other countries.
Lalith, I cannot help but to mention something that this government is currently pushing very hard, which is the export of rice. And cassava and corn, cashew nut. For example, for rice, for example, I think the phytosanitary aspect is not as stringent, but still, there have to be some sort of standard. For cassava, for example, since we have this ASEAN-China free trade, we're supposed to have market access, but the stringent SPS requirement of China is so stringent that Cambodian cassava find its way to Vietnam, to Thailand, repackaged, reprocessed, and re-export to China at double the price. These are something that UNIDO could work with the government, no?
Let me put the bigger picture here to start with. I mean, today's newspapers, we see such an advanced country like Germany. 12 people dead.
200 today in
hospital
very
because
sick.
of a simple product like cucumber.
Yes.
Now, so it's a public safety issue. Now, people may blame the WTO-driven SPS agreement, but governments have rights to safeguard their citizens.
Yeah.
So that right cannot be taken away.
Yes.
If a particular country wants to lower the standards to a very strict level,
Yeah.
that's the independence of the government.
Yes.
You cannot challenge that.
Yeah. Okay.
So in every of the standards, at the end,
Yeah.
what we need is a certificate
Mhm.
or a test result. The case that you took rice,
Yeah.
how are we sure
Yeah.
that your rice farmers are not using banned pesticides?
Exactly. Exactly.
So then the rice that is tested
Good point.
have to show
Good point.
that it doesn't contain
Yes.
the banned pesticides.
Yes.
So there again test results come in.
Yes.
So some of the less sophisticated markets might accept a lower quality product,
Yes.
but of course you won't get the full price.
The full price. You're right. You're right.
So maybe initially you may try to adapt to those markets,
Yes. Yes.
but you must have a longer term vision
Yes.
that you need to go for
Yeah,
the higher
yeah,
end.
Yeah.
Let's say exporting shrimps to a neighboring country.
Yes. Which we are now.
We are knowing it's easy,
Yes.
but if you say European Union,
Yeah.
you get a much higher price
Yeah.
premium,
Yeah.
but the requirements also similarly
Yes.
strict.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think these are the balances that you need to see. And we have done this, in fact, if I take our large program right now, 25 million euro
Yeah.
funded by the European Union in Bangladesh.
Yes.
Now, Bangladesh is one of the largest producers of shrimps. There are 600,000 farms involved.
600,000
Farms involved, small scale.
Still, how many million people
Yeah,
working?
yeah,
Can you
yeah,
believe that?
yeah. So then again, what are the concerns about safety
Yes.
and
Yes.
controls? So these are the things
Yes,
that
yeah.
we need to balance off.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you mentioned the case of E. coli in Germany, that sort of thing. Now, I'm more concerned about what's happening in Cambodia. What are the measures that so far the UNIDO and the government, MIMI, is working together, particularly for consumer protection, for example? You know?
Now, the ISC, the standards body,
Yeah.
by nature should have representation from the consumer associations,
Okay.
the producers.
We don't have a consumer association yet.
This is the
Yeah.
issue, and also academia.
Yes. Yes.
So that's how the governing structure should be done.
Yes.
So initially we had done some workshops here, bringing the consumer angle and so on,
Yes.
but at the moment the consumer side is weak.
Yes.
Now you may be happy going this evening to your home or to a restaurant and having the best shrimp from Tom Lesap.
Yeah. Yeah.
But are you sure
Yes.
there is no contamination from
Exactly.
all the pesticides that are used that creep into the water
Exactly.
body?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think we tend to look more for protecting the people who are in Europe or
Yes.
the Western world having safe food.
Yeah.
But I think we have equal responsibility that we safeguard the locals as well.
For local. I had a phone call from a company, and they asked, look, Siphana, who I can recommend, right, to help them, because they are a major food production factory, and a domestic market they doing good, but now they say, look, we have more production capacity that even to sell locally, and they say, hey, we want to export to Vietnam, we want to export to other, at least country in the region.
Yeah.
So I say, well, my friend, the first thing you have to do is your product, have adequate certification and everything. And these are the sort of things that I think more and more the private sector, as I still believe that the driving force will have to be from the private sector, because they are the one who invest their own money. They want to make money. So they will be the pressure point. So I think it's a good idea that at one point some private sector producer movement should be formed and to work, in this case, work with Ministry of Industry. Right?
Yeah. In fact, last September we had a workshop here in Phnom Penh.
Okay.
We brought in the government, we brought in the various private sector associations, the government association, fisheries association, to have a dialogue. What are the challenges they face and how we work together better. Now we have examples in the neighboring countries. For example, Sri Lanka, we created a joint venture with the Chamber of Industry and the Chamber of Exporters to become a certification body for food safety.
For food safety?
Yeah. Wow. And the donor put all the money in.
Wow.
So this could be in our next phase of the Norwegian government intervention here. We really want to engage the private sector. And I think it's in the government interest also at the end that if you bring them in, they have better management skills.
Yeah.
They have better way of ensuring sustainability.
Yes.
So these are issues that we can look at.
Another thing that I see, since I'm back home the last 2 years, I've been looking a lot. What are the potential that this country have in terms of how to benefit from market access, right? So first you have to look at what are your raw material, your natural resource, and with this natural resource, how do you explore? I can see the case of rubber, it's clear.
Yeah.
You know, in a few more years' time, we can do very well in that side. But there's another thing that I think is still untapped, is immensely untapped, is that we have the greatest freshwater lake in Southeast Asia. All this fishery product. You know, when I live in you know, Geneva, every time I want to eat you know, a nice fresh fish there, deep frozen at $30, no, 30 franc, which is about that. And, you know, it's not even taste good. And I bet all this fish is coming somewhere from there, but re-export. My understanding is that we are not certified to export to the EU, right? We did not meet their SPS stringent requirement, right? What does it take to get the EU to give recognition that our fishery product can be exported?
Okay. Let me first reflect a little bit on the potential of fisheries. Now, today we are seeing this rise in natural resources, or the minerals. Why? The heavy consumption of China and India. The next consumption boom, there's going to be so much entering the middle class in China and India. Fish. And the whole world, there's no more fish. So fish is going to be a golden commodity in time to come. So it's a significant potential, as you explained. We have fantastic resources. Now, what does it take to export to the EU? Now, the EU operates on what's called a competent authority. Which is a government body. That regulates, let's say, the landing sites, regulates the processing places. Supported by an accredited testing laboratory.
Which is also government.
Which can be government or can be private. Now, you need both these. Now, I'm happy to say that we had discussion with the European Union yesterday, and in their next plan, they are looking at these natural resources. So, to me, you need a competent authority set up. You need the fisheries testing lab here. One in Sihanoukville. One maybe in Siem Reap. Indeed. So those are the centers that you have.
Or Kampong Thom.
Cambodia. Now this is how the change of game. This
Recipe
is
for food safety.
Food safety. The U.S. Obama administration signed a new food safety law just 3 months ago. Now anything that enters the U.S. now has to be inspected also. So they are creating.
That's new, huh?
That's new. They are creating 600 inspections per year. So they already started operating in Shanghai and so on. So even the EU, the US
is expecting upstream.
So that's the opportunity and the challenge both.
I see.
That's it. So we have done this kind of activities in the rest of the world. So we are definitely willing to partner here, Cambodia, and I'm sure a number of donors are already talking to us. There's an interesting study by Danida already on the fisheries sector and the natural resources. And EU really want to work in this area. So I think we can put this together.
That's a new source of growth. Lalith, unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our show, but your last word.
Last word is that you have tremendous country here. And I say to my friends or even colleagues here, if I ever want to live in one place for not long, but as a holiday for 2-3 months, it's here. You have fantastic people with the natural smile and the friendliness. So this is one for the people and the leadership and the talent you have. And I see this as a future newly industrialized country. And donors are willing to work. Of course, the government also need to adopt certain new policies on how to change reality and so on. So we have worked very well in all these years with the ministries of MIMI, the commerce and so on, agriculture and so on. So I think there's a lot of potential for the country, and I would love to be part of that development.
Well, thank you, Lalith, my friend. I sincerely, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can appreciate the complexity of this topic. which is not for everybody. But still, one message I can retain from the frank dialogue with Lalith is that, you know, Cambodia have tremendous natural resource, you know, that can be exploited, but without the right, you know, lab, without the right standard, without the right equipment, without the right policy, we will be wasting these resources. And the last point that Lalith was mentioning, that we happen to have the great freshwater lake in Southeast Asia. The potential is enormous. But how can we work with donor partner, whether UNIDO, the EU as a financier, for example, so that we can develop in place this system. And this, to me, is a source of growth that this royal government will have to capture, the private sector have to be engaged, and hopefully we can secure a new source of growth to complement other sectors. Because I must say that the world is a globalized world, you know. The example of the case in Germany now of this food safety is a harsh reality that even between European countries, Germany and Spain, you know, this morning the show was that they show all this picture that they dumping all this fruit and everything. 200 million are down the drain in 1 week. So to me, the option, the policy option is not to lower the standard. It's to work hard to raise the standard. Maybe not to export to the EU, but if the standard is high, we can, you know, do better even in the region. So on that note, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say on behalf of the station and the audience, thank you, Lalith, and it's a pleasure to have you.
Friend.
Yeah. And we will see each other next week for another interesting team with regard to developing this country. Good night.